This is the chapter about finances. We're going to look first at simple interest, and these formulas that I've got right here, you need to start a formula sheet. On the formula sheet, you need to have the name of the formula itself, and what the individual pieces are. Okay? So with simple interest, to find it, we have to know what the principal, that's the amount of money invested or borrowed, what the interest rate is, and what time, how long are you going to have this money. Now, this is always in terms of years or fractional part thereof. Now, simple interest amount, this is what you have to pay back if you borrow money. So that's your principal, that's the amount you borrowed, plus the interest. And guys, the interest is that fee that's charged for borrowing the money. But now, to work this formula out and get a much simpler formula, if you'll notice, I substituted PRT in for I, and I factored out P. So the formula I'd like you to have on your formula sheet is this one right here. A is the future amount or future value. P again is principal or present value. R is annual simple interest rate. And T is time in years. So in situations that involve days, some institutions use a 360-day calendar year, others, which is called a banker's year, to simplify calculations. In this section, we will use the 360-day year. In other sections, we'll use 365-day year, and the choice will always be clearly stated. But remember, in this section, we're going to use 360. So I've got some examples. First thing, find the missing value. They give me the principal, the interest rate, and the time. I have to go find I. So the formula that involves all of these particular variables will be the very first one. So that's another thing I need you to do. Indicate the formula that you're going to use, and in that formula, indicate what all your values are. I think I needed to move it this way. So the $9.50 was the principal. Interest rate must always be put in decimal form, and 1 is my time. Now when you get this in or written down, you can do all of the work via a calculator. So I'm going to type in 950 times 0.09. I'm not necessarily typing in 1. So the interest on this would be $85.50. Now this is money, so you need to go ahead and round to the hundreds. In the next problem, the interest is $28, the principal was $700, and the time here is 13 weeks, and they want to know what was the interest rate. Again, I see I, P, R, and T, so that's my simple interest formula. Now what I'd like you to do is pause me and put it in the appropriate position, and if you can, go ahead and solve for R. So the next part, I'm going to put everything in where it's supposed to go. Now remember, time is in terms of years. So there are 52 weeks in a year, so I did 13 over 52. More than likely, I multiplied 700 times 13 over 52. 13 divided by 52. So I should have 175 on my next step. Now for me to solve for R, I'm going to divide both sides by 175. So 28 divided by, now I could type in 175, but since it is a prior answer, if you do second and your negative symbol, it will pull the 175 down. We will be using that step in later problems, so you might try to get used to it. So it looks like my R is 0.16 or 16%. Okay. Let me get this green thing off. That bothers me. Now this one, I've got P, R, T. Notice it's in days, and they want A. Well, the only formula I've got that has all of that information is the actual simple interest amount. So I'm going to have to use that formula. So the A, I don't know. The P is 3,000. Interest rate, 0.045. T would be 30 over 360 because it has to be in terms of years. Okay. This whole thing can be put in your calculator. Parentheses 1 plus 0.045 times 30 divided by 360. You really don't have to put the 30 divided by 360 in parentheses. So it looks like my future amount here would be $3,011.25. And there it is. So I've got my future amount, I've got my principal, my time, they want interest rate again. Alright, so the only formula I have that has all of those would be the simple compound amount formula. Or the simple interest amount, sorry. That one right there. So let's go plopping. My A would go here, there's P, and my T, 39 weeks. That would be 39 over 52. Now on this, since I have a parentheses and I don't really want to distribute through, let's divide both sides by 19,000. So if I put in, see, 22135, and let's go divide by 19,000. Let's see what we get. Whoops. I put in too many zeros. Sorry about that. There it is. Now, we do that because it actually simplifies our process. If you'll notice, I already went and found out what 39 divided by 52 was. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, so that should leave me 0.165 over here. Come on. And now we have to divide by 0.75. So let me subtract 1, and we'll divide by 0.75. So my interest rate for this one is 22%. Okay? Got a few more problems. Let's see. If $5,000 is loaned for 9 months at 6.2% annual rate, how much interest is earned? So this you've got to pay very close attention to. What do they want you to find? And normally that tells you what formula you have to use. So how much interest? I'm going to have to go use my simple interest formula. It's because that's what they want to know what I is. So my principal is 5,000. Interest rate 0.062, and I'm going to have to put the months in terms of years, so that would be 9 over 12. So let's put this in, and I'll see if I can be a little bit more careful. 0.062 times 9 divided by 12. You can reduce it if you want to, but the calculator will do the work. So $232.50, that's how much interest is earned. A loan of $10,000 was repaid at the end of 6 months. What amount was repaid if 6.5% annual rate of interest was charged? So the $10,000 was what we borrowed. We repaid it at the end of 6 months. So what amount? That would be my simple interest amount. So the $10,000 would go here. 1. Go ahead and put your interest rate and your time. You try to do this problem, so pause me. Now, why I want to know what formula you use, that's part of the problem, and it's worth some points, because I have people who come over here and they mess something up, but at least you get partial credit. Also, I want to see this because between you and your calculator, a lot of things can go wrong. So there's 10,000, my parentheses, 1 plus 0.065 times, I know that's 0.5, so I want to try it that way, into my parentheses. So it looks like in all we had to pay back $10,325. The $325 actually is the interest. If you subtract the amount borrowed from our principal from our total amount, that also tells you how much interest. Last problem for this one. What annual interest rate, so asking me for R, is earned by a 33-day T-bill with a maturity value of $1,000 that sells for this? Maturity is another way of saying amount at the end. That's total value, the amount at the end. So I know how much it's cost so at the present time, so that's my principal. So I'm going to have to use the formula that connects the A and P. Also, this is with respect to days, and we are going to have to use that 360. Remember, time is in terms of years. So now we've seen something like this before. I'm going to divide both sides by this because I don't want to distribute. It'll make it big and messy. I'll see if I put it in right. Okay. This is not going to be a pretty decimal, so I'm going to leave it as is. So is that what I've got? 00384802. Subtract 1. So I can go ahead and subtract 1. Now, I'm going to have to divide. There's a lot of different ways I could do this. I can multiply both sides by 360, then divide by 33. Or you could do this. Divide. Now, that's my prior answer because I want to divide it by this fraction. So, I've got to put this in parentheses, though. Now, let's see what I did here. I think I did it piecemeal. First thing I did was multiply by 360, then I divided by 33. And if you'll notice, when you do it like this, and just think of this as a number, and I need to divide this value on the left by this number. But if it's a fraction and it's all by its lonesome, you are going to have to put it in parentheses because the calculator would divide this answer by 33 and then divide that answer by 360, which is not going to give you the correct value. So the interest rate on this one looks like 4.21%. So that's all for this particular section. Thank you.